I'm Shaylin Ross, and I'm co-shop foreman with Matilda Alley.
I was co-shop foreman.
Matilda and I were in charge of running the shop and making sure everything ran smoothly and productively. She and I worked together to delegate jobs amongst the crew based on their individual skills and interests while maintaining organization of the shop.
My job entailed that I would help make the set and partially design it.
My name is Gabriel Rojas Moreira, and I am Master Carpenter. As Master Carpenter, I oversee construction crew members and teach them how to use tools.
My name is Emily Taylor. I was the assistant stage manager. As the assistant stage manager, I was basically, during rehearsals, I was on book in case an actor missed a line or a cue. I was there to prompt them to help jog their memory.
I'm Alex Teasley, and I was assistant student director. I was kind of wherever I needed to be on that particular day. Some days I would be reading lines. Some days I would be helping with tech. Some days I'd do some of both or anything in between. It really just depended.
My name is Molly Martin, and I was head hair and makeup family. I was going to, before the show, helping out with like facial hair and then all the actresses' hair.
I was head props person. I just helped find props, possibly create props. And yeah.
I'm Cade Stoltz, and I worked on sound. Effectively, I pretty much made sure all the sound effects were in the right places, they were cut properly, they were made properly, everything designed accordingly, realistically, and then I just play the sound.
I'm Bethany Robertson, and I was a member of the costume crew. What I did for the show was I just kind of tailored costumes as needed and just made whatever pieces needed to be sewed. And I also taught here and there some new crew members how to sew as they needed it.
I was really excited to see what the light crew had to bring to the table because the show is a lighting show and we just got a bunch of new technology and we have a new light crew, so I was really excited to see what they could do.
Most thing I was looking forward to was everything coming together because it was kind of like I get to see the set and I didn't see the actors most of the time, so putting it all together kind of made me happy a little bit just to see it.
Well, I look forward to seeing the crew members be part of the world they helped made, so they be part of the shop center during the final piece. So
I was most looking forward to seeing like all of the actors just being able to perform with the set and like seeing it all come together.
Definitely either the ballroom scene or the stage fights.
I think that what I was most excited for was getting to see everyone in their full costumes and acting with all the hair and getting to see it all put together.
Most likely the duels. I remember seeing some of the actors like choreograph for it, and it just would look so cool.
I gotta say the party music that I designed, it was on point. But realistically, all of it, I was really looking forward to actually being in a show and actually doing sound for the show on my own, just having that whole experience happen. That's pretty much what I was looking forward to.
I was looking forward to see all of the really cool costumes that Preston and Stacy had picked out. It was just going to be a lot of fun to see.
The most difficult part of the show was accommodating all accommodating to the little theater because it is such a small space, and all of the ideas that were given were kind of on a huge scale, so shrinking everything down was kind of a challenge. But once we put our heads together and came up with a bunch of ideas that worked, everything was smooth sailing from there.
The problem that I really had to overcome was stepping out of my comfort zone and talking to the actors about how they felt about the set and how they felt about the way that things were.
Probably the biggest challenge in the show for all parts of theater was the immersion. Like, we had a small working area for all the set pieces and props. So then we had to scale the characters to the world, and it was quite a task.
For me, one of the biggest challenges was being put in such a big leadership position because previously I'd just been doing tech.
I had a lot of issues finding out where I really fit in within the show because assistant student director, at least in my time at North, hasn't really been a thing. So I didn't really understand, I was having trouble understanding what that meant, what I was supposed to do. And then on top of that, just struggling to find my placement within the show with my peers.
So while the PowerPoints and kind of a bunch of my research, I think the main thing was gonna be making sure that we got all of the beards and the braids and everything done before the show. It was just gonna be a lot of making sure I had enough people to help me so we could get everyone taken care of.
It wasn't really much of a challenge, but the props list was a bit tedious.
Personally, doing all of the actual sound stuff on my own really for the first time, because for all the other shows there's been someone more experienced in the sound department, but realistically for this one I was just flying blind and going on my own this time. So I'd say that was one of the biggest challenges there.
So we had to make this kind of mattress for Juliet's bed. I worked on it with Carly Bayless, and I had to do a lot of math to get the giant circle and to be able to cut it out. And then working with it was a bit of a struggle because it was a lot of fabric and it was really heavy.
Most of the research I did was trying to find inspiration for the art of the set pieces. Like when we did the big arches, a lot of the research I did was trying to figure out how to do the effect of the plaster on the bricks. And I kind of went into a rabbit hole when I was researching ideas. I was looking at buildings in Verona, Italy from 14th century and from now, and it was really cool to see how well those buildings were preserved and how good the architecture was for its time.
What stood out to me the most was probably the architecture and how world building it is.
One of the things I found most interesting was something the dramaturgs shared with us, which was how many other versions of this show there were before Shakespeare wrote it.
One of the things that I thought was really interesting, how they had seen Queen Elizabeth as a fashion icon. So now I feel like everyone wants really tan skin, but at this time period, everyone wanted to be pale and have blonde hair. So they were dyeing their hair with different spices or doing their makeup insanely pale just to kind of go along with how she was looking.
I remember doing research for swords and how different swords were throughout eras and everything. I thought that was interesting.
Number one, the bells are really complicated. The bells have so many different it's really insane. I didn't really understand the whole meaning of the bells and how much they did stuff with. It's really astonishing how much that happened.
One interesting fact that I learned from Molly was that they used lead in their makeup to make it really white, which was really kind of a strange fact, but yeah.
Probably the coolest thing I've learned throughout this whole show was marbling like huge objects. That was a frustrating experience because who I was doing it with, like we had different ideas of how I wanted to go, and I had no idea how to do it. But once I learned and once we cooperated, it was a lot of fun, and that led to me learning to do fluid art on my own. So it was really cool. It's probably one of my favorite things that I've done art-wise in tech.
Something that I will take away is that you have to have the courage in yourself, but also in others to make the whole thing come together. And something I've learned is that it's just fun to do what makes you happy.
To enjoy every moment you have.
I feel like one of the things I learned the most during this production was just being able to step more outside of my comfort zone, because I'm usually quite quiet.
Well, I guess I hadn't really realized the scope of like how Romeo and Juliet in particular affects our modern culture. I'd never read Shakespeare before. It was something we were supposed to cover last year, but we didn't. So getting to read a different kind of show, getting to read a show of such magnitude made me realize, oh, now I understand what that was a reference to and what that was a reference to, and kind of just seeing how it underlies a lot of pop culture even now.
Just how to work with the community and focus and work like more directly under a director, I feel like.
Pretty much learned that plans, such as the plan for the in-person show, don't always hold up to what will actually happen in reality. Because you can plan and expect for one thing, and realistically, there is a likelihood that it'll never happen. So you just have to be sure to expect that not everything is always going to go your way.
Too. And one of my favorite memories is probably when we were cleaning out the loft and we were just organizing things, making sure everything was easily accessible. And we found a lot of really cool artifacts and stuff. I like to say artifacts because I'd never seen these props and little set pieces before, but it was really cool looking at all the stuff I'd never seen.
When we were first introducing the cast and the crew together, there was a time where I was trying to make stuffed animals, and people kept coming up to me and asking if I could make them some.
Like days before all the schools closed, me and Mr. Ellis had to quickly paint all the set pieces tan, so we were just like rolling all the set pieces quickly as possible.
One of my favorite memories was one day just after we gotten off book, we were rehearsing a scene, and there were quite a bit of people in the scene, and nobody really knew when their lines were, so we were all just kind of messing around, and it was really fun.
Definitely prop hunting with Austin would be my top favorite. It was just to find random objects and present them to Gerbel.
Just getting together with like Jade and Claire while researching, it was just very entertaining, especially going on with like Queen Elizabeth in the era, and just seeing like how everyone responded to how they were coming up with their ideas for their hair and makeup.
Like getting the key to the props closet and everything, and like exploring all the stuff. I think that was really entertaining for me.
I'd have to say just being in the booth for it and just doing all the fun stuff. Working, cleaning up the booth was interesting.
So I did a lot of organizing at the beginning of the show, just to kind of get the dressing room all nice and clean. It definitely needed it. And one unique thing that I found was this kind of hair curler. It would have been before electricity that it was made, so a long time ago, probably 1800s, and it was very rusted and very strange. It was just kind of interesting to look at. So it was an interesting find.